Hello again and welcome back. My name's Annie and this is my creative detour. I hope you're all having a wonderful week so far and having an opportunity to do something fun. Now I'm continuing on with Mass Make March and I'm going to be making something quick and easy today, but also that does a lot of stamping because in a couple of videos ago I chatted with you about whether you wanted me to do some more stamping. And I have mass stamped a whole lot of labels and tickets out of my stamp supplies, and I'm going to be making layered label tags. So let's have a little look at what we're doing. So you can see here that it is a label in the background, and then it's got a few layers of different things, and then it's got a little pocket in it. And then I've put a little bit of twine onto it and made it into a tag. Now the back is all different bits of pieces, but I'm thinking that I will use these as little clusters or as tuck spots. So they will get glued into a journal. They'll have a little bit of something interactive, and you could put more labels into it if you wanted to. So there's one. Let me show you another one. This one here, I've actually stamped the label onto some scrapbook paper, and I love using 49 and Market for this, and I'll show you that in a little bit of why I like using 49 and Market to stamp on. And you can see that this one's got a flower pocket. The previous one had a ticket and some sunglasses. And this last one I've got to show you is of a butterfly. And so the butterfly has the little pocket in it, and I have stamped a label onto some 49 and Market scrapbook paper, but then I've also pulled out a whole lot of stamped labels and items to create a little tuck and turn them into layered label tags or clusters. Now how I've done these is I've got a bit of a formula that I work to. So let me get set up on the desk with all of my supplies, and I'll talk through my process. So we'll pop these to the side just for the moment. Hopefully they're still in the view. Okay, so you can see here that I have stamped out quite a few different bits and pieces, lots of different labels. And I basically used 3 different inks. So I used VersaFine, and then I used Ranger Archival Pebble Beach, and that's these ones. And then I used Archival Frayed Burlap. So I just tried to keep the same colour palette. I think that some of these ones have got a brown stays on it of some colour. I think it might be spiced cinnamon. But I've got all permanent inks on them because I may want to put a little bit of colour onto them. Now I do have, like I said, some stamped things onto the scrapbook paper. Now let me show you the scrapbook paper. Okay, so I've used some of my stash of 49 and Market to do some stamping on, and the reason I do that is because I like all of the content that's built up on the page. So you can see that there's lots of variation in value, and then there's texture in the background with different stamps and patterns and things, and different types of papers and whatever. So the patterning on it is really good. You can see on this page here that there's a lot of variation going on without me having to do too much building up of a background. So stamping a label onto here, and I just use a label stamp and stamp some. So let me just show you what I do with that to create some backgrounds. And I'll just pull out one of Tony's stamps. I think it's the Collector. And let's just cut off a little bit of this. And I'll grab some VersaFine. And all I've done to create all of these bits and pieces here in my tray is stamp straight onto the scrapbook paper. Now for some of them you can see that I've built up lots of different content on them, but that's totally up to you of how much you want to create with your labels. But I tend to do a bit of a run on them and mass produce, because it's all about mass making, isn't it? Okay, so as you can see, I just quickly stamped on those, and I'll pull something else off, stamp a little bit of text on, so I don't overthink it too much. And I'll put a number on. And then I'll just put on a little heading. It says field notes. So as you can see, I've just quickly stamped a few little labels, and then all I do is I fussy cut those out. And I'll do that now and add them to my stash. So there we go, that's how I mass make a whole lot of labels. It's really easy to do, and it's great to be able to do it onto some scrapbook paper, and you don't need to use 49er market. You can use whatever scrapbook paper you've got. One of the reasons I like using them though is because of the quality and the thickness of the paper or the cardstock. It's I'm not sure how thick it is, but it feels like it's around about 250 GSM or 300 GSM. It's quite thick. So it means that the end product, they're quite sturdy. So that's one of the reasons I love using 49er market. Plus I like the colour palette that they often have. So let's pop them in the tray, and I'll show you my formula of how I put them together. Okay, so you'll see on these ones that I have something common happening on all of them. I have an item at the bottom that is horizontal or is in a landscape direction that is going to create the little tuck. So this one's got a butterfly, this one's got a flower, this one's got a little ticket and some sunglasses. And what it does is it enables me to build up somewhere to layer everything and tuck something into. So you can see here that I have stamped out quite a few butterflies, and I've stamped out quite a few flowers, and I've just done them on that 49er market paper. And it was the paper that was left over from when I made these portrait pockets in my last video. And you can see here that I have some 49er market paper, and one of these has got the scrap on it, that one. So you can see that it's the same paper on the back. And it was hanging around my desk, left over from doing this project. And I thought I'll stamp on it and create some little layered tags. So if you want to watch those portrait pockets video, it will be linked below in the mass make playlist. So you can see that I've mass stamped out a whole lot of flowers, a whole lot of butterflies, a few of the tickets and sunglasses to create travel themed ones, and I've also stamped out a few little fig plants, so leaves with some figs on. And so I've just got a few of those, and I think I've got an example of one of those. Yes, I do. And you can see that this one, it tucks in behind the fig. So this is creating a little bit of a formula for me, where I start with something horizontal at the bottom. So let's pop them there, and we'll bring one down, and then we'll talk through the next part of my formula. So there we go, we have our 4 items that are going to be our tuck or our pocket. The next thing I pull out is something with height. So I purposely pull out something that's got height but also contrasts a little bit with the color of this. So for example, this one here, I wouldn't pick this color because it's not got enough of a value variation for me, but I might put it with this one because it does change a little bit in value. So let's pull out something that's got a bigger value variation. And I think I'm liking the look of this one. So let's do that. I'm liking the variation in value in those. So you can see I've changed some of the values. I've got a very low value here, and then I'm stepping it up. And I think I like that variation there. And I quite like that ticket that we've just made with it, actually. Okay, now we need something with our butterfly. Okay, so we've got our tuck, we've got something with height. Now we need something else with height with this one, so let's pull in another label for this one. We'll pop it on that side. And now what I want to do is, I've got 3 items. So now I want to make sure that I've got 5 items on there. So I'm probably going to put something horizontal to support the bottom one. So we'll pull out a few little labels, and I'll pop the butterfly there and layer that one on top of the wing. And that just helps ground the bottom information a little bit. Okay, so I have another supporting horizontal label down the bottom just to help the pocket. And now I'm just going to pick what my feature tuck element is, the thing that's going to move in and out of the pocket. Okay, let's put in a butterfly specimen one for that one. We'll pop the butterfly onto this label, I think. And then the last one, I'm going to put in this ticket. So there you can see what my formula is. I start with something fairly horizontal at the bottom for the tuck. Then I put in something for height, 2 elements for height, one taller than the other. And then I put in another supporting horizontal piece of label down the bottom. And then I've got something to tuck in it. So there we go. There's the 4 that I've just put together out of what I'd stamped. So let's glue these together now, and we'll see how easy they are to put together. Now I'm not going to ink because this is a mass make. I don't want to do that. But what I do now is I pick it all up in my hand and I work out what I want it to look like. So I sort of group everything together. Now I like the idea of this label going on the other side, and the reason is because the text is the right way round then. So let's move everything over just to the opposite sides. So I just hold it where I want it, take out the tuck piece because that will get in the way, and once I've got it positioned where I want it, I just put a little bit of glue, and I'm using art glitter glue. I put a little bit of glue, and I don't use a lot of glue. I just put it in strategic places just to hold the pieces. And the thing is, you don't want to close up your tuck. So you can see that I'm just gluing at the very bottom there so that the tuck doesn't close over. So I glue that together, and then my piece will sit into it. And that's it. So now we'll sit that there. That's one made. Let's glue the next one together. So same thing, leave the little tuck piece out and get your 4 pieces. Once we've got them where we want them, we can glue them together. So just hold them in the spot that you want them. Okay, I'm happy with that. So now I'll just run a little bit of glue at the back here and glue those bits together. A little bit of glue here and glue that one on. Turn it around, make sure that I don't close up that tuck spot. Like I said, I'm not worrying about the back because it's going to get glued down in my journal. There we go. That one will sit into there. There's another one. So as you can see, once you've decided what you're going to do to put them together, they come together very quickly. Okay, so let's do this one. We'll take that piece out and we'll decide whether we want the white at the front or the back. Now I want it at the front because I want the contrast, and position my butterfly and then help it along with a little bit more label just to give it a bit more stability. Okay, I'm happy with that. So let's just put a bit of glue under here and glue those tall ones together first. I tend to do that. Now I like things to stick off a little bit too. I don't need it to be all perfect. All right, next one. There we go. So you can see they come together so quickly. So it's a pretty easy formula to use. So let me mass make. I'm going to make a few more off camera, and then we'll come back and I'll show you how I finish them off. I'll be back very soon. Okay, I'm back and I think I've made 20. So we'll have a little look at them in a moment, but I'll show you how I finish them off. So this one here's just got a little label in the pocket, and I'm just going to punch a hole, a small hole, in the corner of one of my labels, and I have made some reinforcement rings. So how I make those is I just get some scrap out of my box that's next to me there, and I punch a few holes, just small holes, in the scrap. And then I come along with a very small punch. I think that this is 3/8 of an inch or 9 millimeters. And then I punch out the ring. And you can see that I'm cutting it out of the branding strip. And it just makes little reinforcement rings for me to put onto my projects. So that's how I make the rings. So let's now put a little bit of glue onto that hole and glue on one of the little reinforcement rings, and I'm going to use a black one, and I've just made that out of scrap cardstock. And I've got a small amount of twine, and it's only thin twine, it's not very thick, and I've doubled it over and then doubled it over again, and I'm going to push that through my hole and make a loop. Pull it out, and then I'll just cut that down to size. So there we go, there's our finished one. Aren't they cute? So let's spread them out. Okay, let's pull out my journal, my 2025-26 favourites journal, and we'll find a page to put one on. Okay, I like this one here. I'm going to put this onto the pocket. So let's glue that into my journal. I'll just put a bit of glue on the back and glue that in. There we go, I'm happy with that. A little bus ticket there. It slides in and out. And there's a pocket behind there. So that's pretty cute, isn't it? So there we go. I've got another 18 left. I made 19. Actually, I thought I made 20, but we've made 19. Maybe one's dropped on the floor somewhere. But they've all got a little story to tell. And you can see that some of them are topped with white and gold twine, and some are topped with black. There's quite a few that are neutrals, which is nice. There's a bit of a green and gold thing happening at the moment, isn't there? That's a bit of an Australian thing to happen. It's a great use of using up some of your scraps, stamping onto your box of scraps of scrapbook paper or papers or book pages or your cardstock actually, and mass making some labels and then layering them up and creating some little pockets on them and some little stories. So there we go. I'll zoom in so that you can see them better. So I really hope that you like those. Some of them have got a travel theme, some of them have got butterflies, flowers, and some little shrubs. So a bit of a variation, some botanicals and then some travel. But I haven't worried about getting all of the labels all making sense or anything. I purely just threw them together because it's a mass make. So I really hope you enjoyed them. They're my layered label tiny tags. So I hope that you get inspired to use up some of your scraps and make some. All right, that's all from me today. Thank you so much for stopping by again and watching the videos and liking them and subscribing and leaving such lovely comments. I really appreciate it. So I hope you all have a wonderful weekend making something fun and new. And I will see you again on Monday with another project. Thanks again, everybody. Bye for now.